the handout to the chat?
Will do, as soon as I present the anti-bullying. Okay. So, as I just said and am reconfirming, this talk is being recorded. From this point on, anything you say or that is visualized will be recorded. So to begin with, I would just like to thank Sefa for teaching this class. She is an absolutely amazing person, and I hope you all enjoy it. I've known her for many years now. So the first official business, the SCA harassment and bullying policy. I'm sure you are all aware of this by now. The SCA prohibits harassment and bullying of all individuals and groups. Participants engaging in this behavior are subject to appropriate sanctions. If you're subjected to harassment, bullying, or retaliation, or if you become aware of anyone being harassed or bullied, contact a Seneschal, president of the SCA, or your kingdom's board. And with that, I will stop presenting and turn everything over to you.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Sefa Rose on Facebook. I'm also known as Viscountess Sefa Hrafnasdottir in the SCA, and welcome everyone to Easy Head Wraps for Beginners, or Head Wrapping 101. We're basically going to go through some tips, tricks, and techniques. There should be a handout link in the chat here in just a second if it's not already.
Yep.
And
I am getting it now.
Because you're amazing. And this will basically be my verbatim, but there'll be like an actual show going on at the same time. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. And when we see a good pause, Katane will let me know that there's questions, and I'll be able to answer them as we go, if that's okay with everyone else. Good to go. All right. So head wraps. They are one of the items in every SCA outfit that just gives that little extra oomph in what you're wearing. So there are many different things that you can use for a head wrap. You can use a pashmina scarf. You can use a long scarf that you bought from Target, from Walmart, from Amazon, vendor at Penzic, which unfortunately we don't get to go to. But if you go online, there's lots of artisans that are selling their wares just because they aren't able to go to all these events where they normally make their money. So please go support your artisans. You can also use linen to make one. You can use silk to make one. You can use wool to make one. If I use my wool, I use a wool silk blend. Just because I don't like my head being super hot. So you're going to be like, Sefa, well, you tell me all these scarves I can go and get and what I can use to make a head wrap. Well, what size and weight do I need? Good questions. So you can use a square wrap, and that's about 36 by 36 inches minimum. The bigger you go, the more flowy drape you have in the back. There's the rectangular wraps. Those minimum should be about 20 inches by 60 inches. And then the thickness of the scarf really depends on you, because the thickness is what affects the volume of the head wrap. If you want a smoother, sleeker head wrap, use a lighter weight fabric. If you want a really voluminous head wrap, use thicker fabric. It's all based on what you're wanting. So some tips to get started. If you have your scarf, just have like a center point. I don't mark mine, but I can generally tell where mine is because it's sort of worn out a little bit from sweat, because sweat happens. Also, water on your veil happens, or your head wrap, because that keeps your head really cool. So I know where my center is, but that's one of the key points, is make sure you have your center of your scarf lined out so your hands are hanging down. Have your underscarf on before you get started with any of your head wraps. What your underscarf is really is just a bandana. So you can use a square piece of fabric, fold it in half into a triangle. You can use just literally a scrap piece of linen that becomes a head wrap on its own and ties in the back. This is going to keep your head wrap from slipping off of your head, because it's going to be probably the most solid thing, because it's not going around all of your hair. It's just coming around the front all the way to the back. You can also use a non-slip headband if you want to. Nothing wrong with it. You should also have your hair in a bun or have a shaper on before you get started. So if you don't have a lot of hair, for a lot of the head wraps we're going to do, it requires something to wrap around other than just your head. So a shaper could work. If you don't have a shaper, you can essentially take your underscarf and sort of wrap it up into a bun, and then that's what you would wrap over. That would work too. Because this is what helps create the body in the head wrap and makes the head wrap more secure. The higher your bun or your shaper on the back of your head, the higher the body of your wrap will be. So if you're wearing a cornet, make that stuff lower. Speaking from experience, don't put it all the way up here, because then it doesn't fit right. Nothing fits right. However, if you do have it higher, there's nothing wrong with that. It still looks really, really good. Okay, so we're going to move right into head wraps. First one is going to be, take your scarf. And my scarf is, this one's a little smaller because I actually totally forgot to bring out the one I meant to, but it'll still work for the demonstration. So have your square scarf folded into a triangle. And remember what I said, we need to make sure your hair's in a bun first. So don't mind me, just gonna do a simple little bun. I do messy buns. You can do a regular bun. You can do a ponytail, braid it, wrap it up into a bun. However you like your buns, just put it up in there. So see, simple bun. I usually do mine right in the back of my head. Here's where my cornet would sit, or the trim, if I was using anything to secure it. And then here is my scarf. So fold it in half into a triangle, and boom. Anyone can do this. It is a head covering. Everyone knows how to do it. This is what you can use for an underscarf. If you had a longer one, you could bring these tails back up over this part right here, and it would dangle down further, and it would keep everything super secure. Super simple. And when you just want to get your hair out of your way, it's really, really handy. So next one we're going to do is the scarf ponytail. This is probably one of my favorite ones. So I'm going to put on my underscarf. Because that's what's going to make sure it doesn't fall off. I'm going to take my scarf that's at least 60 inches in length and about 20 inches in width, maybe wider. It depends on what you want to do it for. Find your center. Like I said, I pretty much know where my centers are. You're going to put it just up above your underscarf, because a little pop of color goes a long way. You're going to knot it in the back, and keep in mind, I've been practicing all day to make sure that this goes smoothly, so I might have used all my good wrap juju during my practice. So if something doesn't work, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. That just means I used up all my good juju. Also, I'm going to try and not talk while I'm turned around. So I'm going to tie this in the back. I'm going to show you how I'm tying it and how I'm going to secure one of the pieces. So give me a second. We're going to tie this. This is your top piece. You can see why the way that this is really on the bottom, when you tie it in the knot, this becomes your top piece. So top, bottom. Take your top piece and you're going to bring it up over your head. Take your bottom piece, throw it behind you, and sort of kind of pull it down to where now in the back, your bottom is going straight down, and you have like this little unicorn thing going on. Really nice Duchess in the West explained it like that, and I really like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of trim or your coronet or ribbon, another scarf maybe. I don't like using the other scarves. That makes it really bulky right here. But you're going to use something. So you're going to have your unicorn horn. And you're going to bring your trim up right here. And you're going to tie it in the back right above your bun. And then what that's going to do is it's going to look like this. And your unicorn horn is going to go back. And essentially, you now have a ponytail. And you just zhuzh it a little, and it looks great. Super simple, super easy. You can wear it with a coronet. You can wear it with trim, whatever makes, whatever securement you want to use. And, you know, this can be altered in a whole bunch of different ways to add flutes in if you want. That way you have more body in the back, if that's what you're going for. I'm not, but if you ever want to, this is something fun to experiment with.
Before you move on to something else, we have a question.
All right.
They are asking, when you twirled them before tying the first half knot, does it matter which way you twist them?
So I didn't twist it. What I did is I just sort of kind of gathered them together. Like here are, I'll do it again. So here's my length of my wrap. I just gathered it like pigtails and I literally just tied it. I didn't do any special knot. I didn't twist it. There is another way to do it, like if you're headache prone, and that's crisscrossing it over. But just know if you do it that way, it's not as secure. But there's no specific way to twist it. Did that answer your question? Beautiful. Okay. So moving on, we're going to do an adaptation that I learned from a YouTuber called Rapunzel. Rapunzel is spelled rap and then unzel. She's amazing. And this is one that pretty much shows off your scarf. So if you have a scarf that is really pretty, a lot of detail, texture, this is something that you can just sort of throw on and make it work. For these next two wraps, I'm going to use just my little piece of linen, just a strap of linen. And this essentially makes it non-slip, but not very bulky underneath the wrap. Because wraps, you know, you always need that underlayer for the non-slip. And if you're out in the heat, you generally, less is more. So I prefer the little bit to my thick piece of linen for these next two wraps. Now, remember what I said. I might have used all my good wrap juju practicing today. So we're going to try. We're going to try this. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to use a pashmina shawl. This one's a little shorter than I normally use, but the longer the better because flowy is a thing, especially for this next wrap. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to fold this to fit your head. Now what that means is you're going to fold it to where it goes from right here around the back to the nape of your neck. So that's the width that you're going to try and get. So most pashmina shawls or head wraps that you have are a little bit longer. So you need to, or a little bit wider. So you need to sort of fold it over like so. And just put it right here, sort of feel it, make sure that, I'm going to try and show you right there. You want the bottom half to be right at the nape of your neck. So if it's not there, just sort of kind of scooch it a little bit, work it to where it's right where it needs to be. Okay. So now, make sure your ends are even. Once your ends are even, you're going to start working. So the first thing you're going to do is get your little ponytails, like so. And then you are going to tie it in the back. So again, ponytails. Tie it in the back. Make sure it's not too tight because pressure headaches are a thing. And you're going to take your, you're going to take out one side. And you're sort of going to fan it out. And you have the two edges. You're sort of going to kind of lay them on into each other. So that way they're in the middle of your fold. So there's a nice smooth side. Here's your edges folded in. And you're just going to take that and you're going to bring it up and over. Like so. You can see how it comes up. Sort of kind of pull it up where you want it to be in the back. Bring it down in the front. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your other side, which we're going to call this side B because we brought side A over. We're going to bring your side B, bring it around, pull it through. And there you go. Simple head wrap. It's nice. Brings it over to the side. If you have a nice head wrap, this is going to be something that you can you can play with this. You can tie it again. You can bring this side over and tie it back, and then you can have sort of like a little bun thing going on the side. You can bring this up around and have a bun going right here. Me personally, I like simplicity. And this is nice and tight, keeps my hair out of my way, and it looks gorgeous in the back. It works well with trim. If you want to throw some trim on it, go for it. If you want to throw your cornet on, go for it. It's simple, easy to do, and it just adds the other little bit. So this is what it would look like if you threw some trim on it. Just sort of kind of tuck that in. Voila. Easy. So, super simple. Show off your scarf. You, like I said, you can sort of kind of play around with this and go from there. However, if you want to take it that extra mile, this is how you do it. So we're going to take this on and we're going back to our pieces. Now here, we're going to worry about where our pieces are on the knot. So remember earlier we had the top portion versus the bottom portion. So in this one, we're going to take our top portion, which again is the piece that naturally goes up. And you're going to fan it out. Bring the centers into the middle like we did with our earlier one. Sort of bring it down and bring it up and over. like so. And pleats are okay. You're going to take your little tail, and then this is going to come all the way around and go into a pocket that you just created. So we folded it over. It's going to go around your bun in the back and into the pocket you just made. Like so. You want to make sure that you don't bunch it up into that pocket, because if you do, you'll probably get a pressure headache. Pressure headaches are bad. We don't want any of those. Another thing to do if you're prone to headaches is a crisscross in the back, which I meant to show you before we actually started. So I'm going to show you as soon as we're done here. All right. Oops. Told you I used all my good wrap juju. Give me a second. I'm going to tuck this back in. All right. Now for the second side, we are going to fan out your side, bring the centers in, and sort of kind of do the same thing. And we're going to bring it over and into the pocket that we're about to create with it. We're going to tuck it in. So it's really important that as you bring it over, how you have it in the back is how you want it, because it's really hard to fix once it's in. And all the pleats make it look like you've gone around and around and around and around, and really, it's only once. It's great. And again, we're just going to tuck it into the hole, the pocket that we created. And we have a gorgeous head wrap. And from here, you can put on your trim again. You can mess with your pleats a little bit and sort of comb them over the way that you want them to be. You can flatten them out. You can make more. But you have a gorgeous head wrap. And the more body you have back here, the further back that you can bring this. I like mine right up on top of my head. It's how it feels secure to me. May not be to you. But super easy peasy once you learn how to deal with that pocket. And dealing with that pocket, it really helps when you have the appropriate length of headscarf. If you have really short headscarf, you're not going to be able to fit it into that pocket because it's not going to go all the way around after being knotted in the back. So let's move on to our last one. Well, first, before we move on to our last one, from here, if you wanted to, you could add another headscarf and do the same thing. You could put on a second headscarf at the knot, put on a second headscarf, do another knot, and you could do a back and forth and create a checky. There are so many different ways that you can do it. Once you master this, you can move on to like almost anything. Anything is possible. You can do a braided one and bring it over. It's a little bit more advanced. We'll get there if there's enough interest for the next class. So for those of you that are headache prone, I promised you I'd show you what I meant by crisscross. So give me a second while I undo this. So if you're headache prone, you don't want a knot at the base of your neck all day. That is the last thing that you want. So instead, what you're going to do is, instead of tying it, which is more secure for me, may not be for you, but for those who are headache prone, here is your alternative. You are going to take your ponytails and essentially twist them in the back. So this side A will twist around side B. And then once they've twisted, side A is going to come back to the side A side, and side B is going to come back to the side B side. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to show you. side B, side A. Side B came back, side A came back. But now you have a crisscross in the back. And that's going to take off a lot of pressure from just not being right at the base of your neck. It's going to bring the tension for the scarf higher up and away from your head. But it's still secure. You can still do it this way. It just doesn't feel as secure to me. Headache prone? I am not. If you're headache prone, this is the way to go. All right. Now, this last one is super fun. And I know you're like, Sefa, but it's only been half an hour since your class started. It's okay. This is just really basic stuff for you to go and practice and do. It's going to be fine. This is going to be great. And this is probably one of my favorite hacks ever, 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 ever. So I'm going to take off this scarf. I'm going to keep this one on. And I'm going to show you what you can do with an infinity scarf. Because who doesn't have infinity scarves laying around their head? I really didn't. I didn't have a lot of them. And then I remembered that I had one that someone sent me. And I'm like, oh, I can show them this really fun thing. If you don't have an infinity scarf, you can make one. Just take a piece of linen. I'd say probably, give me a second, I can measure. Probably 2 yards long. And I would say, hold on, I'm measuring as we talk. About 2/3 of a yard wide. And then sew the ends together. And what's this going to do? It's going to make your tube of fabric. It's great. So you have your infinity scarf. For those who don't know what an infinity scarf is, it's just basically a continuous loop of fabric. That's all. And this one's just really fun. I wouldn't recommend this for, the SCA, but I am going to recommend it for a demonstration. So your infinity scarf will definitely have at least one seam in it, unless somehow you have a really, really fine crochet or knitting or knot binding. Shade out. You're going to throw it on. Voila. So it's now all the way around my body. And now you're going to take what's in front of you and you're going to bunch up most of it, put most of it behind your head, push, and now it's all behind your head. This is where the fun comes in. And I love hacks in the SCA. It makes our game so much more fun when you can be like, look at my pretty head wrap. And it's an infinity scarf and a hair tie. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a hair tie. I like heavy duty hair ties. I don't have any, but you can still do it with this. Depending on how thick your infinity scarf is really going to depend on the hair tie. If you make a white infinity scarf, that's cool. Make sure you have a white hair tie so it sort of kind of blends in. Okay, so you're going to take your hair tie. You're going to take your infinity scarf. You're going to place it where you want it. And you're just sort of kind of bunch it all in the back. And I'm going to turn around. I, by the way, made my bun lower because this is really important. You need the low bun. So I'm going to take the infinity scarf and I'm going to put it in a ponytail behind the bun. And I'm going to go to the next step while I'm turned around. And then I'll turn back around. I'll tell you what I did. So hair tie. Let's do it. Bun. Did you see that poof? Take your hair tie, twist it, bring up just a little bit more. Now here's the thing. You can set this sort of in the center of your bun, poof it out a little bit, and you can literally go around just like this. No one's going to know it's an infinity scarf, and it looks great. Or what you can do is you can take the remainder of your tail, twist it a little bit, wrap it around, tie it in on itself, tuck it, and then you have a gorgeous bun. Super easy. Super easy. I mean, I did that in what? 15 seconds, maybe. Take your trim, tie it on. Oops. Tie it right above your bun. I don't think this one's long enough. Maybe it is. Tie it across your bun. I'll try it across the bun. If you have temple rings, you can put your temple rings on this trim. If you have a coronet, you can do this with a coronet. Just simple, easy, breezy, beautiful head wrap. You thought I was going to say cover girl. And that's it. Super easy peasy head wraps. Anyone can do this. If you have hair, if you don't have hair, if you have bad shoulders, maybe. There's a lot of this going on. But this is something easy enough to where you can walk someone through it if you need them to do it for you too. Or you can be like, Sheva, I really want one-on-one, which then I can say, I got you. Just come find me at any event. Or in the meantime, you can definitely give me a call. You can find me on Facebook. I am more than happy to do a one-on-one with anybody. And that's this class. Done. Easy head wraps. Easy. Are there any questions? No?
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's a wrap. Ha, ha. I love it. I love it. It's so simple and it's so fun. I love doing head wraps. And you know, it's one of those things that can just make your outfit 100% more. You can just have a regular underdress on. You can do a head wrap and boom, $1,000,000. It's great. It's wonderful. Super easy. I love it. I hope you loved it. I really love the Ministry of Arts and Sciences for putting on these classes, especially during this horrible pandemic. I love and heart you, and I love and heart everyone that watches my class.
Well, thank you again for teaching. It was definitely enjoyable. I have a few things to try out when I actually do my Viking persona, or not German.
It's okay. I'll pick your brain for the German one.
Yep, they will be posted up on the Kingdom YouTube eventually. They get done in batches, so
No, that's
it'll be
cool. And hopefully the handout will be attached with it. That's what it's supposed to be doing. If not, get in touch with me. I'll make sure you guys get it.
all right. And if there are no further questions, it should be safe to stop the recording now.